It was amazing to wake up for the first time in 14 years and not think, wow, a substance would help make this walk a little better.
You know, I remember I got there and all these people were completing the program and they're like, I'm going to be a peer mentor and I'm going to reach back and help other people. I just remember thinking I don't understand. I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous before, but I don't really understand how all this works. But I just did it because, my best thinking got me there. What's it going to matter? I might as well just do this that these people are telling me to do. It really does change something inside of you.
It was amazing to wake up for the first time in 14 years and not think, wow, a substance would help make this walk a little better.
I remember I got there and all these people were completing the program and they're like, I'm going to be a peer mentor and I'm going to reach back and help other people. I just remember thinking I don't understand. I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous before, but I don't really understand how all this works. But I just did it because, my best thinking got me there. What's it going to matter? I might as well just do this that these people are telling me to do. It really does change something inside of you.
Lane 13 podcast.
Here we go. So this is exciting.
Yeah. Something new.
Yeah.
Well, we've already been on the radio. So.
Yeah, we had the Recovery Radio FM show back in 2016, which was a recovery radio show on a Haitian radio station in South Florida, and we streamed it from my basement.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. What was the name of it?
Recovery FM radio. No.
Yeah.
Women's Talk.
I can't even remember the name of it. But yeah, and it was
me, you, and Sarah.
Yeah. And then Hannah was on that show with us. And so yeah, that was fun. So I guess we have a little bit of experience being in front of the microphone and talking. So
right.
But I guess, the first episode, just wanted to get into a little bit of, just what we're doing.
Yeah. Every time people come up to me, they're like, so what's this Lane 13? What do y'all do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Well, and I think our experience has just led us to this point, right? All the things that we've been through, and really kind of starting with the healing place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, me being from Lexington and kind of getting thrown into Louisville. And I literally was dropped off at the door of the healing place by my sister because the Department of Corrections was like, you're going to complete a substance use program before you can, get parole.
Right.
And I just remember the day they told me that I was going to go to the healing place. I was so excited because it was I finally had a shot, right? Because I was just caught up in this cycle of drug use and alcoholism and incarceration and terrible relationships and poor decisions and all these things that just was this terrible cycle that I was caught up in. And I knew that if I stayed in Lexington, if I stayed at home, that I was just going to die. I wasn't going to make it. And, it's really sad whenever you're more comfortable in jail than you are being free, comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So,
yeah.
But, getting there and, being, walking in the doors, I was just so overwhelmed. I was crying. I remember this girl, Brandy, was working the security desk, and I just walked in and I was in tears. I was crying, and part of me in that moment knew that my life was never going to be the same.
Yeah.
I didn't know how or what that meant. I just felt it in my soul, that life will never be the way that it was.
I had the same exact experience.
Yeah.
I remember I was living in Las Vegas, and I thought, my baby daddy was the beginning and end of all my problems. I go out to Las Vegas, and everything will be perfect. It'll be great. My great start over, because I'm the queen of start over.
Mm-hmm.
Get out to Las Vegas, and all the same things happening. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's there, and I'm here, and all the same stuff is happening.
Can't blame him.
Right. You know, and then got asked to go to the healing place. And I never imagined being able to get sober in the city I ran and did everything in, you know. And I remember flying home to Louisville. My mom picked me up, and my mom, my aunt, and my stepfather. And they took me to Red Lobster and then dropped me off at 16th and Broadway.
What'd you get at the Red Lobster?
Oh, girl, the
shrimp scampi?
No,
the
but that's
biscuit?
part of it, like the ultimate seafood fest.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, girl.
That was like your last meal?
My last meal, yeah. And I remember pulling up, and I was like, oh, my God, I cannot stay here. I mean, it was 3 dilapidated houses on Broadway, you know, when I went through the old
women's healing place.
And my mom was like, get out the car, honey. I mean, they done had the bag out, and I'm contemplating if I can get out of the car or not. Well, honey, they done had all my stuff on the sidewalk. Like, it's go time. And I remember the women opening the door, and they were smiling, and there was light in their eyes, and I didn't have any light in my eyes. I mean, my eyes were like raccoons, you know, just dark circles and darkness and heaviness, dense energy. And I remember thinking, ooh, they got good drugs here, you know, because they were laughing and having a good old time. And then, you know, they checked me in, and no, there ain't no drugs.
Well, I was gonna take that girl in the bathroom and beat her up if she didn't give me drugs when they first put me in detox. And you know, that was a really funny story on how Selena and I met, because we were not like the best of friends at first at all. But you know, I remember when I was in jail before they sent me there, and there was girls, and they had all been to the healing place, and they were all telling me all about it. You know, they're like, you can do this and you can't do that, and you know, you're going to have to trudge, and you're going to have to go to these meetings. And they're all telling me all these different
What do you think
rules.
trudge meant?
I knew what trudge meant because I was from Lexington, and so I was familiar with the Hope Center. So I knew that it was the same program. You know, it's a peer-driven social model program. And they were like, yeah, and this girl Brittany was like, you know, you're gonna meet Selena, and we were just like best friends. And when you get there, tell Selena I said hello. And so I was like, okay. And so of course I get to detox. It was the day before Valentine's Day, because I remember I woke up on Valentine's Day, and our friend LaTanya, she worked in detox. Her son was giving out Valentine's Day suckers, and
in a doctor costume. He was
yeah. And so, you know, this blonde lady walks in, and she's telling everybody what to do. And I was like, who is this lady? And they were like, that's Selena. And I was like, oh yeah, Brittany told me about her. And so I go up to the counter, and I'm like, hi, you know, I'm Alaina, and I talked to Brittany in jail, you know, your friend. And she was like, I don't know any Brittany. And I was like, oh God. And there was a girl in there, and I could tell that she was high, and I was like, man, I'm gonna tell her she's gonna give me some, or, you know, I was like plotting the whole time. And because, you know, regardless, I had not been on any drugs or alcohol in almost a year. I had been incarcerated. I hadn't really had any substances since, I think, November 5th was my sobriety date. I got to the healing place in February. But, you know, nothing had really changed, right? Like, I was still the same person, and I hadn't really filled that God-sized hole. I hadn't done any work on myself. So, of course, even without having substances for that long, I wasn't physically addicted to anything.
Right.
But, you know,
the urge.
I still had that, you know, that mental
Get
obsession.
me out of the way I'm feeling.
Yeah, I need something to change the way I feel. Reality is too much. Like, I can't deal with this. And thank God you came in like a drill sergeant and made everybody stand up by their bed, and you end up finding it and having her leave. And, you know, looking back now, that probably saved me, you know, because I was going to figure out how I was going to get some of that. And I think that it's those little spiritual experiences, all these little things that the universe lines up along the way that, you know, gets us where we are.
Right. I remember the first time I woke up thinking, wow, I don't want to get high today. I mean, it blew me away, you know, because, you know, they got me with the trudge, and I never heard of any trudge. You know, I'm like, ooh, what's that? You know,
It's a fancy word for walk.
It's a walking, you know. Well, I knew how to walk, you know.
Yeah.
So it just is, it was amazing to wake up for the first time in 14 years and not think, wow, a substance would help make this walk a little better.
Right. And I remember like I got there and, all these people were completing the program and they're like, I'm going to be a peer mentor and I'm going to reach back and help other people, which is like assistant staff where you get paid and you're basically helping run the program. And I just remember thinking like, I don't understand. Like I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous before. I've been to 12-step meetings. I've even said that I've had a sponsor, but I don't really understand how all this works. But I just did it. Like if they said to do something, I just did it because, my best thinking got me there. Like my brightest moments took me into a really dark place. And so it was like, what's it going to matter? Like I might as well just do this little dumb shit that these people are telling me to do, like wake up and pray, get up and do if the healing place tells you to, do this, you should do it. I would do my assignments and journal every night and like give things 100% some of the time. Some days I might not have had 100%.
Right.
But, after like 30 days, 60 days, and you're just kind of doing those same things over and over again, it really does like change something inside of you. Yeah. And it got to a place where I no longer needed to be there. I wanted to be there. Yeah. Right. And so at the beginning, I needed to be there for my parole, and I was calling my drug dealer and I was like, hey, I'll be home in just a few months, and I'm telling all my friends that I'm almost done. And it was really like doing time. Right. And then all of a sudden it was like one day wasn't doing time anymore. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do the things like I wanted. And gratitude was such a huge part of that. Mm-hmm. Now, looking back now, like writing the gratitudes that we had to write every day and saying gratitude every day. If I had to choose, probably one of the most significant things in like the 12-step programs and the peer-driven social model programs is gratitude.
Yep, absolutely. I remember first starting at the healing place and I would wake up and just start complaining, bitching, moaning, groaning. And they'd be like, girl, it ain't even 7:00. Shut up, know. And I remember making that switch to gratitude. Wow. Like, I don't have to pay rent here. I get food here. It might not be the food I really want, but I get free food. I don't have to pay rent. I get to see my mom. I'm changing from the inside out. And I remember being in such a hurry. Like I was ready to go, and like I wanted to hurry up and do everything so I could get out. And then I remember being done and it's like, please don't make me leave. Please don't make me leave, and getting to make the choice to become a peer mentor and help facilitate the change that I got to experience for other women behind me. It was completely amazing.
Yeah. But, coming from jail there, the food was great, because the jail food is.
Well, I came from Red Lobster, girl, with the ultimate feast.
Right. So. You had the ultimate Red Lobster feast. So your comparison was very different than mine. But I was really grateful, because I had been incarcerated for so long. And, because I had basically got kicked out of jail. Right. Yeah. They kicked me out of Fayette County Detention Center and made me leave and go to another jail. I was basically in solitary confinement for a really long time by myself. So that was hard, and then when I got to the healing place, I was finally around 200 and something other women. And, thinking back now, also one of the things that was such a huge part of like my recovery was the reduction in shame, right? Because when you come into an environment like that and everybody is standing up and telling pieces of their story and
laughing.
Yeah, but there was so many other women that was way worse off than me, right? And so it really created this environment where there was no shame. Like I didn't feel shame for who I was or the things that I had done.
Right.
It was normalized, right? Yeah. Like it was normalized. There was women that's like, I prostituted down 18th Street, and this chick over here her child had got a hold of her methadone, and like there's so many just stories that you hear, and it really does like reduce shame. And I think that was another and then being able to be a peer mentor and then eventually work there for as long as we did, seeing that in the other women, I think that was such a huge piece of it. And so when I got there, you were the detox supervisor.
Yeah.
So you had been there for quite some time before I got there. I think you went through in like 07, 08.
08.
And then I came in 13.
Yeah.
So you had been around for a long time, and you had got to help start the Recovery Kentucky, and you moved everybody from the small little dilapidated house to the new big building that everybody was in, and started the DOC contracts with Department of Corrections. And so you got to really be a part of that huge transformation for the Healing Place.
Yeah, I was just so grateful to be sober and be employable. And somebody wanted me at the job, and I would have done anything. I did do it, anything and everything.
For like $8.75 an hour?
No, $8.25.
$8.25.
I got hired at $8.25 an hour, and I remember calling my mom, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a job full time."
Yeah,
and I'm making $8.25 an hour, and she was like, "Selena, you can't raise your son with that. Oh, God will provide."
Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. And he did, and he has, and he, just continues to just suit up and show up. And so grateful for everything I got to learn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was 2 years sober in charge of Detox. Like, what in the world? And I remember them telling me, it was Karen Haskell, and she was like, we're moving you over Detox supervisor. And I was like, I don't even know how to talk to people. And she was like, I'll help you, And it was just such a learning experience because it was like, oh, now I really have to start applying all that stuff that I've been doing over the last couple years. And it was very hard to balance my recovery and being a new mom and trying to create a household and his school and then work. And, it was so hard for me. And I had so much external mess that I needed to clean up that I was just miserable because I couldn't find a balance. And then it was like, I barely made any money. So I would like cry at night thinking, how am I going to feed this kid? Because he played ball. All he did was eat. I'd go to the grocery store, and by Wednesday there would be no food in the house. And I'd be like, oh my, and it was just a constant worry. And which I realized today, I never had to worry. I could have chosen to spend my time in a different way and came from a place of abundance instead of lack. But heck, I didn't know any of that. And I was just kind of learning how to live then. Yeah. But getting to be supervisor over Detox and helping change the culture at the Healing Place, allowing the women from Department of Corrections to come in hopes to change the trajectory of their lives. It was super hard because all the clients were like, oh, now we're just...
You're a DOC facility.
Yeah, you're
DOC runs the Healing Place.
Yeah. And it was just like, had to really help people realize that there was no difference between me. I mean, I was in and out of Louisville Metro, and not one time was I ever asked, how can we help you to not come back here? But
it's like the difference between me and you, right?
Yeah.
Because you had to be taken by your family, and I was forced by Department of Corrections, but both of us ended up in the same place.
Exactly. And so getting to change the culture at the Healing Place to where, like, I just didn't get caught. You know what I'm saying? I've done things, and I'm not going to say it here because we're on camera. You know.
You're not going to incriminate yourself?
I'm not going to incriminate myself. But I've done many things that I could have done prison time for, you know, and I had to share that with the women, and we slowly over time was able to change that culture, and it was more accepting.
Yeah.
And getting to work with the DOC and the police, and, you know, that was a total change for me also, because heck, I didn't trust the police and a parole officer, and, you know, getting to go through all of that. It was just truly not only transformational, not for the women, but for me.
Yeah.
So I was transforming the same time the women were, and going through my own process. And, you know, when you are an authority figure, I mean, I hated authority figures. You know what I mean? And so here I was, an authority figure, just trying to figure out my own life and responsible for all these women's lives. You know what I mean? And so I got a bad rap, you know, and I didn't know how to talk to people, and I was selfish still, you know, all the things that I've had to grow out of.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's important, because what you said is like you were crying and you were miserable in recovery, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you take the substance away and we're still left with us.
Exactly.
You know?
I remember I was getting ready to go to Europe, take my son to Europe. He was going to play for the United World Games and represent USA. And I was so miserable. And I was actually running the clinic then. And I was talking to the pharmacist, and she was like, Selena, you need Prozac. And I was like, what? And I started Prozac. And it changed the whole trajectory of my life. You know, I was able to take my son to Europe. We had the best time. He would call at 3:00 every day and ask for what's for dinner, and I didn't cringe anymore. And I took it for 5 years and didn't need it after that. But, you know, just the stigma of mental health and all that in early recovery.
Especially in that environment that we were in, right? It was hardcore, abstinence-based, you know, like things are very different now. Very different than
the whole landscape of recovery is different now than what it was. I mean, you weren't allowed to talk about medication, you know, and I had sponsee sisters, and I'd be like, oh, they're on all this medication. They must, you know, and I was judging them because I was new in recovery, and I had been programmed, you know, that was bad. And so, you know, just thinking that I had to be on some medication to be able to enjoy my life was a hard pill to swallow for me. Yeah. But it saved my life, and it saved my relationships, and it helped me to be able to go from surviving life to thriving in life.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think I remember that too when you took Jordan to Europe, and that's kind of when you and I very first started like really being friends. Yeah. When I started at the healing place, I was pregnant with Avery because I had James and I, my husband, we were best friends like through the whole program. He was just such a good friend, and just like a constant person in my life, that he was just like so stable. And just from the moment I met him, he just felt like home.
Supportive.
Yeah, like, but he just felt like home, like to me, like just being in his presence just felt like home, you know. And it was taboo. It was really frowned upon to date someone in early recovery, especially. There was a men's healing place and a women's healing place, especially people from the men's healing place. But I did not think that I was dating him. We were just really good friends for a long time. But Selena always says that everybody knew we were together but me. Because I just, you know, I don't know, it was just strange. I was like, we're just really good friends. But, you know, one day I woke up and it was just very different. But I had 2 children in the first 2 years of recovery, which was,
I can't even imagine that, girl.
Back to back. I mean, they're a year and 5 days apart. So It was really hard. Like, it was so hard on me. And I started working in Detox when I was pregnant with Avery. I had to leave the healing place for a while and get a job. I worked at Frisch's, big boy.
Waiting tables.
And I was pregnant and I had my little apron on and I would walk across the street and go to work every day. And I remember one of the things a lesson that I learned working there, which was really, really, really important to me, was everybody had to roll silverware.
Yeah.
And so it was like an extra thing.
That.
Yeah, it was like an extra thing that everybody had to do, right? Yeah. And you didn't get paid for it. We got paid like $2 an hour and everything was tips, right? We all worked for tips. And, we had to roll this silverware and nobody wanted to do it, right? It's like filling up the salt and pepper shakers and the ketchup at the end of the day. Like, we're getting paid $2 an hour to roll silverware. And because of what I was taught, I would roll my silverware every day. And I would roll that. If they said I had to roll 100 silverware, I would stay and roll those 100 silverware. And I would watch other people not roll their silverware and they would leave. And I was always a corner cutter, right? I always tried to figure out how to cut corners, right? Because I was a manipulator. And so all the time it was like, how can I do the least but get the most out of it, right? Like, my whole life, I was trying to figure this out. And that showed up in my work and in my relationships, and, it showed up everywhere in my life. And so when I got there and I was rolling this silverware one night, and I was like, I do not want to stay here and roll this silverware. I'm pregnant. I'm tired. I want to go home and go to bed. And in my mind, I thought, Alaina, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're not willing to stay here and roll this silverware and do a good job, then you're not going to be ready to have whatever's beyond this right here. Right.
Right.
And it really taught something as insignificant as rolling silverware, taught me this huge life lesson of literally how you do anything is how you do everything. And if I can't manage a job to roll fucking silverware,
then I can't manage
how am I going to manage something else, right? And man, ever since then, I've always tried to give everything 100%. But when I got to the healing place and I was working in Detox and quickly moved over to the reentry program and created a whole reentry program for, 30 women, the MRS women. And then I created an outpatient program and partnered with an outpatient facility, and we housed their people, and then quickly moved back to the continuing care coordinator. And I kind of revamped that whole program and recreated that.
We've lived 1,000 lives in this.
No. It was a lot. And, but I just loved it. I loved coming in there every day. And, but less than 5 years of being a client, I got, one day they were like, you're going to run the program. Director, you're going to be the program director. And I was like, oh, okay. And, it really wasn't that hard. I had already been doing. I had already ran every other program basically in the place, besides the clinic.
Well, and we all worked so well together that we could just pick up and do each other's jobs.
Yeah.
And there was that trust, that camaraderie, and we all knew that we would do what we said we would and trusted that. And we could and we all worked all the different things, so we could all just switch and work really well together.
Yeah. And, in that position, you basically have a team of peer mentors, peer support specialists, whatever you kind of want to call them today. And there's 20 to 24 of them back there. And you kind of manage this team of people in early recovery that went through the program.
Yeah.
And now they're there you have them for 6 months, 90 days, 6 months. And they are basically helping you run the program. They're going and teaching the classes, and they have a caseload of clients that they come back and turn their homework into them. And so sort of the way that it was ran was I was the program director and the peer mentors were my caseload.
Yeah.
And so I would mentor and manage them so that they could, in return, pass that down to the rest of the clients.
Yeah.
And everything trickles down from the top. And so it was a really huge responsibility. But Selena and I became really good friends when I was in MRS working. And I had just had both my kids, and I just decided one day I was going to quit smoking. Do you remember that? So it was in 2016, somewhere around there, 2015, 2016. And I woke up one morning, I looked in the mirror, and I remember I could not breathe because I had smoked cigarettes since I was like 12, you know? And I just put them down. I was like, I'm not going to smoke anymore. And I stopped at the Walgreens and got nicotine gum, and I went into work. And just mind you, the whole environment at the healing place revolves around smoking.
Smoking every hour. After every class, after community, after group, after everything.
It was so hard. It was so hard. And I was chewing the nicotine gum. And so what I would do was whenever I felt like I needed to go smoke, I would walk to the clinic and I would sit down with Selena and I go, I really want to smoke right now. I just really want to smoke right now. And I would tell her that, and we would talk for a minute, and then I would go back and do my job. And then the next hour, when I felt like I wanted to smoke, I would go back to her office and I would sit down and go, really want to smoke right now. I really want to smoke. And I would talk about it until it passed. And once I got to like a week or two and I hadn't had a cigarette, I just knew that I was not ever going to smoke again. Like I had no desire. I just was never, and I just never looked back. And even besides quitting drugs and alcohol, like that was significant for me.
Exactly.
Because cigarettes were like a constant. Even before I drank, it was like my first drug.
Right. Oh, yeah. I could go to sleep without a drug or an alcohol to wake up to because I knew that it would come. But I could not go to sleep without a cigarette to wake up to.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I remember, you know, we grew up in like, I was born in 81. So everybody smoked in the 80s. It was like everybody smoked in the houses. And so my parents smoked. And so, you know, I want to do what they do. Right. So I'm going to steal their cigarettes. And I remember the first time I inhaled, and I was standing on this pile of dirt in this park. And the moment that I inhaled that cigarette, I never stopped thinking about cigarettes.
Right.
From that moment.
Isn't that crazy? My mom always says she's a puff away from a pack a day.
Yeah.
She'll like never just puff on a cigarette because she'll be right back.
Absolutely. But you know, that was like, people talk about your like gateway drug or your first drug. Cigarettes, like nicotine was my first drug of choice.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, the moment I inhaled that, I never stopped thinking about it. Like everything I did in life revolved around smoking. Everything. I would go to jail for 6 months and I would get out and the first thing I did was smoke. Like it was insane, you know, but it was.
God, that was the worst, going to jail and not being able to smoke.
Yeah.
Lord.
Nicotine withdrawal. But
I think not being able to smoke was worse than cold turkey and off 150 milligrams of methadone.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, I think so.
Not for me. I cold turkey off methadone in jail on a concrete floor, so it was pretty bad. I don't think I would do that again.
Well, I wasn't on the concrete floor. I was on a mat, but it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Yeah, detoxing from methadone is pretty bad.
Yeah,
but you know, we get sober and we kind of enter into recovery through that process of elimination. You know, I gotta go through every bit of that before I get to a place where I'm like, you know, I don't think I can have anything.
Right.
Where I've arrived at a place of abstinence, right? Like I can't have one of anything.
Right.
But you know, the methadone, I've done all of it, you know, trying to figure it out. And it works for some people, you know, especially buprenorphine. It works for a lot of people. And
well, it's just like AA people. There are so many people in AA who didn't go to treatment or a recovery program or a halfway house or anything. Yeah. They just woke up and was like, oh, I'm going to go to AA. Well, honey, I could not even imagine.
Yeah.
I had become an animal. I needed someone to tell me when to go to bed, when to eat, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and who to do it with.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's like me when I woke up that day and decided I didn't want to smoke anymore. Yeah. I didn't need to, you know, anything extreme. I just was like, I'm done. Yeah. You know, and I think that some people, that can happen for them, you know. But I remember you started coming over and taking me to meetings, but I guess I didn't know that Sweezy had asked you to or something like that. I didn't even know this till like a month ago.
Sarah had just passed.
Yeah, my best friend Sarah overdosed.
And then someone else, maybe Kirsten. Wait a minute. Well, I'm not going to say names, but there was a few people who passed. Mm-hmm. And so he just, and I had him like coming and doing things, participating in a class I used to teach. Remember the relationship book?
Oh yeah, we had the men's panel.
Yeah. So we'd read through the relationship book, and then I'd bring a panel of men, and the women could ask questions. So he had came for that, and he was just like, you're so stable and positive, and Elena just lost a couple friends, and I, really would like for y'all to start hanging out. But we had already begun because you were working there, and then when you quit smoking. And I remember you applied to come work in the clinic, and I was like, no, I want to be your friend. I don't want to supervise you. But he just wanted, he was looking out for you. He wanted you to be around more supportive, stable people. And I guess he thought I was that.
Well, at that time, I struggled the most in my recovery at that time. I was a couple years sober. I didn't have a car. So I was at home with like these two babies, Right. Ashlyn was a year old. Avery was a newborn. And I was struggling so bad because here I was, like, I was sober, didn't feel the need to like get high or use, but I was struggling on how to like navigate life, right? Sober. And part of that was in my relationship because I had been in the same relationship my whole life, just with a different person. Like the characteristics of the relationship were the same. It was always unhealthy, just superficial. And really what it was is that I always knew that I came second to like the drugs and the alcohol. And the reason I knew that is because anybody that I was with came second, right? I had abandonment issues because, I couldn't tell you how many times I had been in a relationship with men and they would just leave because there was somebody else that had something, and they would be gone for days at a time. And I would do the same thing, So my, what I thought was a relationship, I couldn't have that kind of relationship in sobriety, right? It was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. But I didn't know how to change the behaviors that got me to a place of being in a healthy relationship.
Right.
So for like example, James started gaining this huge following on social media, and he started making more money, and he was really popular. And I was sitting at home with two kids, didn't have a car, couldn't do anything.
Right.
And I just remember thinking like, oh my God, like I was so jealous of him. And like, I was like, why do you have to go do this? And why are you, and I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Well,
like,
and
why?
He's such an expander.
Yeah.
And here you are stuck at home. You ain't expanding shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was definitely some animosity, and then you probably felt left out.
Yeah, and it's nothing he did. It was all me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that
internal.
Yeah, it was internal. And so the beautiful thing about it though is that because I had like such a close relationship with my higher power, and I had like a really strong foundation in recovery, I knew what to do, right? Yeah. I was reaching out to other women. I was talking about it. I was going to meetings. I was doing all the things that I was taught to do. And so one day it really hit me, and it was like, Alaina, everything that brings you happiness comes from someone else. Like everything that brings you joy, everything that motivates you comes from an external source. So when are you going to find the internal power that you have and start building for you, not contingent on a man or anybody else? When are you going to start doing for you? And that changed my whole life, right? Because I was like, okay, I'm going to build my life. I'm going to have people pay me to travel, and I'm going to build a company, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And when I started doing that, and like everything I did came from my higher power and my internal source, and it wasn't contingent upon a man or another person or an external source, oh my God, like I can't even begin to tell you like how fast I was able to manifest things that I wanted. And I was genuinely happy for other people, and I was happy with myself, and I was confident. And it just really changed my whole life. And
Yeah.
that's when I got up and I got a job and I started focusing on my career and I started taking care of myself, because what I had to come to terms with was that even if I wasn't in a relationship, the goal is not, and I used to say this to the women at the healing place all the time, the goal is not to be in this beautiful, healthy, happy relationship.
Right.
The goal is to be okay even if you're not, right?
And, I'm single, been single forever, but I never feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I never feel alone. I have such a huge support network. But, recently, I've really been spending a lot of time with just me at home. And
I feel like you've always done that,
it's
though.
the best feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it has always been authentically me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe some years I was kind of hiding or scared or out of fear or lack, whatever. And now it's just been an intentional getting still and getting quiet and being okay. Just sitting at home, like I don't even have the TV on or, reading a book or playing with Gabby or whatever. And just to feel calm, comfortable, confident in my skin and not need anything outside of my home to make me happy or complete anything has just been the best feeling.
And I feel like that too,
Yeah.
and I think that's the cool thing is I get to do that and be in that place, but also be in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing forced with me and him, he gets on my nerves. Like he does all kinds of shit that drives me crazy, but the good definitely outweighs the bad. I think that's just anybody.
Yeah.
But I love being at home. Like I don't even want to go out like at all. Like I could just be at home all the time.
Yeah.
So, but that was a really tough time, but it was just such a pivotal moment because I think it really launched me into who I am. I went to school and went back to school. I got a bachelor's degree and then I got a master's degree. And the whole time I'm working at the healing place. And then I just kind of grew out of that wanting to be there. And I just outgrew the healing place.
Oh my gosh. I remember you calling every day crying.
Yeah, I cried
Which you don't cry.
I know. And I was crying on the way to work every morning.
Day. And you would call me and I would talk you off a ledge. And I know it's serious when you're crying because you don't cry. And so when you do, I got to pay attention.
Yeah, just spiritually, I was just off,
Yeah.
I think I went through some kind of midlife crisis. It was right when I turned 40. And I was grieving this old part of myself, right? Mm-hmm. And I was sort of in this place where I was grieving my youth, I'm never going to be in my 30s again. I'm never, I was really in this space of grieving my youth. But then I was also grieving my years at the healing place and being there because I knew
it's so hard to leave there. I mean, I remember after 11 years I left there and it was so hard to make that decision. I mean, I knew 9 months before I left that it was time to go.
Yeah.
And
it's like leaving a bad relationship.
Yeah. Seriously. Really bad.
I know.
And but it's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So hard. And nobody knew because I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to be the nasty one at work. You know what I mean? So I never told anyone anything that was going on except my sponsor. And when I said, it's time to leave, everyone was like, oh, And my sponsor was like, it is.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can finally say that out loud. It's been time. I'm glad, you've come to this and let's do it. And I was so grateful. Just like you called me crying every day, I called her crying every day. Poor Barbara.
Well, that led you though. You went through that's when you went through a really hard time was after you left.
Oh yeah, that was.
And you went through a really tough time. And you had to explore a career that was sort of a dead end for you, but it was still a process that you had to go through.
Yeah, I had rheumatoid arthritis and didn't know it was rheumatoid arthritis. And I had to take 2 naps a day and everything in my body hurt. I couldn't barely open a water bottle, couldn't barely walk. Here I am in nursing school And it seems like everybody can pass all these tests, and I'm just like, you know. And so it was so hard, and I tried, gave it a go in a relationship, and that did not work. You know, Jordan went off to college to play ball, and I wasn't ready for him to leave. You know, I think that I kept telling myself, once he leaves, I'll be free, and it'll be, you know, I won't have to cry myself to sleep every night, wondering how I'm going to feed him, you know. But then it becomes like, oh gosh, he's completely out of my control. You know what's going on?
It's a different fear.
It's a different fear. And so it was just super hard for me and you know, in my mind, there's nothing I can't do. And I couldn't pass nursing.
Yeah.
And so that was very hard. And then here I'd waited 10 years to get into a relationship, and boom, and I'm sober. But it's the same relationship I've been in my whole life, just like you said. And so that's a failure. And then my son dropped out of college, and I had worked so hard for him to go to college and be a ball player. So it was just like everything at one time.
And we were both overweight.
Oh, God, yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
We're
I weighed
overweight.
203 pounds.
We were eating cake every day.
The cake, I got invited to the cake man's wedding.
Yeah, we had a guy that made cakes, and we were eating. I was cooking in my office. I had like an Instapot. I mean, it was bad. Like we just like switched addictions. You know, we went from like this, and then we shifted it to like sugar, and we were
and then
eating. Everything revolved around going to eat, and you know, which is fine. But we weren't even really aware. I don't think that we weighed as much as we did until we saw a picture of ourselves, both of us, and we were like, "Oh shit." I've always been like 100 pounds. And I mean, we were just both really overweight.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, no, we can't do this.
Yeah. And I remember you started CrossFit, and then I couldn't do CrossFit because my RA, well, I didn't know it was RA, but I couldn't do all that.
Yeah.
So I did those Lucy videos.
Yeah, the Lucy Wyndham Reed in the basement.
Lucy Wyndham Reed in the basement, doing those.
And that was during COVID, too. So, you know, when all the gyms were closed.
And we started eating healthy and exercising at home and walking and doing all that. And I got down to 135 pounds.
Yeah, I got.
And you got way down. And then I started CrossFit.
Yep. Yep, we've definitely been on sort of a health journey too for the past, you know, few years. But you know, when I was in that place where I was crying on the way to work every morning, in 2021, when I left the healing place, I was really scared because even though I was making $20 an hour being a program director, like that's insane. That's insane. It's insanity. You know, like I made $40,000 a year, less than that after taxes. And then I was so scared, but I had one contract. Yeah. I had one contract that I was working on as a resource navigator for some programs across the country, some reentry programs. And in 2019, I went through Just Leadership USA, which is like at that time, it was this huge cohort for people that were justice impacted, formerly incarcerated. It was created by Glenn Martin, who is brilliant, and he always says, and shout out to Glenn for this, but those closest to the problem are furthest from the resources and the power, the solution. And I went to a 2-day training with Amanda, and David Menza, who's just brilliant, was doing this training. And they were like, we're going to open up applications for our year-long cohort. And, there's hundreds of people that apply. They pick like 25 people out of all these applications. And I just went home and filled it out. It was like a really extensive application. I went home and filled it out, not thinking ever that I would get selected. I mean, I had done a lot of work in the reentry space and recovery, but there's just a brilliant people across the country that do really good work. But lo and behold, man, they picked me, and I couldn't believe it. So I went to New York 4 times that year and got all this extensive training and built this huge relationship with so many people across the country that are doing work that is similar to what we're doing. And one of the biggest things that I've gotten to do in my career was be a part of JLUSA. It was a pivotal time for me. And that was in 2019, right before COVID. And I was the last cohort that was in person, that kind of had David that came in with his breakthrough action leadership training. And it was just such a brilliant time. But I had that one contract in 2021 when I left the healing place. And my husband, James, he was making enough money, and I was doing my year-long master. I was doing an excelled master's program in 9 months, which was insane. And he was like, Alaina, it's time.
Yeah.
Like, it's time. You have to walk away. And I remember Shannon, who works with us now, was my supervisor. And I went in and just said, I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks. And I wrote a resignation letter. And I was just so scared, but it was like the best thing. And that next week, I started my LLC.
Yeah.
And I went and I created Lane 13 Consulting, and I got someone to make me some logos, and I bought the website, and I had my one little contract. But since 2018, I had been doing a lot of advocacy. Right. I had been managing lobby days, bringing people to the Capitol, speaking at press conferences. I was already doing a lot of that work. So I felt like I knew what I wanted to do. I just had to,
divine steps.
I had to figure it out. But it's been, challenging because nobody really does what we do. So there's no roadmap. But I started Lane 13 in 2021, and then I had my second client come that session. The legislative session, General Assembly convenes in Kentucky in January. And that first year I had an internship with the National Association of Social Workers. And so I interned with them, and I had my first lobbying contract, and then I had my other contract with JLUSA. And so I had 3 contracts already my first 6 months. And so after 6 months, I was making double what I made at the healing place, And so I just, the money came, and it just kind of worked out, But it was just me for a long time, but it has been, challenging figuring out where we're going and what we're doing. But I think we finally, we're in a groove now, and we kind of know where we're going. And then
it's funny. I remember, being at the Prisoner's Hope and doing part-time for the ACLU, and you're like, oh, I want to hire somebody. And so, okay, well, here's 2 people, and you interview 2 people, and you were like, you came back and you was like, no, I don't want to hire somebody. Come build this with me. And I was scared to death, but I knew, I had gotten an intuitive hit that it was time to leave the Prisoner's Hope. And I was like, oh, I couldn't have heard that right, because that was my safety. And I could do that with my eyes closed. I could do that job with my eyes closed, and, and hit it out of the park every time. And so it was just like a security thing for me. And, you were like, well, won't you come on? And boom, I had 2 contracts, and we just kind of started figuring it out.
Yeah, it's been great. I love, sort of paving the way. Yeah. It's really fun, and we get to be creative. Yeah. And, but you came on when? How long has it been?
April of 2024.
April of 2024. So it'll be 2 years in April that you've been doing this. And it is scary to leave the comfort of a paycheck and, knowing that every 2 weeks or whatever, you're going to get this paycheck, and you're comfortable and easy. But then, it's like, get out of that comfort zone and trust the process a little bit. Right. And it has just been very rewarding. And now there's 5 of us.
Yeah.
So there's 5 of us, and we're doing all kinds of different things. Yeah. But we really are focused on policy, lobbying, and advocacy. And not only, changing policy and representing our clients, but also teaching other people about advocacy and policy as well. We do have a lobby training that we do for folks to try to teach them. We want more people that have that lived experience to be advocating and telling their story and building relationships with lawmakers and legislators and people in power. And so I think that's one of our mission that we're doing as well. We have some other things coming soon that we're going to talk about, but for now, I think that we're going to continue to do these podcasts and get into a little bit more about what we do at Lane 13. And we're going to have some guests on and bring some people in to talk and learn a little bit more. But I'm really excited about the legislative session. We do have a couple of national clients that we are representing. And so we have some pretty big items on the agenda this session.
We are passing 3 bills.
So that's the hope is
3 bills.
One of the things that we
manifesting it right now.
Yeah.
And we got it recorded. So
yeah. And this will be the first legislative session that the Capitol building's closed. And so it's going to be pretty strange to hold session in this new, I don't know, what do they call it? Temporary building?
Yeah, the most secure temporary building.
Yeah, the most untemporary temporary building that I've ever seen. So that's going to be interesting. But, one of our clients that we do have, the Clean Slate Initiative, which is a national organization, and we've worked on this for several years. And so we're really trying to push Clean Slate policy, which is automation for expungements. Yeah. So really excited about that.
And not changing the current law around expungement, just automating the process.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that in another episode. We're going to have some folks on where we're going to talk about exactly what Clean Slate policy is and
how people can get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yep, how people can get involved. And there are some misconceptions, but, we I think that we're doing a really good job of educating people about what it is.
The whole conversation with legislators has changed over the last couple of years dramatically. And so we actually have legislators fighting for us in the Clean Slate. And that's a huge change.
Yeah.
And super excited about that.
Me too. And, we do have our peer support trainings. We're going to be having a CSA training. So it's kind of sticking with our roots from the Healing Place and managing those peer mentors. We're really passionate about peer support specialists. And there were some policies and some things that have happened that have really jeopardized that profession. And we really want to professionalize our peer support. So working on that and really making sure that they get an adequate, superb training. So, we have Shannon, who's one of our team members, and he's a facilitator, and he's, cranking out our peer support training. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a really good episode. And I think that I'm really excited about continuing the conversation and some guests that we'll have join us. And maybe next time we'll get into a little bit more about what we do.
Yeah, and what our day looks like, and the people we meet with, the things we do.
Yeah.
But I think we did good for, letting people get to know us.
Yeah, for sure. But if you have any questions, if anybody wants to reach out to Selena and I, you can go to lane13consulting.com. There's a button on there. You can schedule a call or a meeting with us. So go to the website, check it out, reach out to one of us, and we'll be happy to jump on a call with someone. You can check out all of our social media handles. It's Lane13. And so
look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe to Lane 13 on YouTube or Spotify.